What happens if a dispute arises between the two spouses in a marriage-based green card case? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law around the United States and based here in St. Louis, Missouri. Every now and then we get a call here at the office when trouble arises between a husband and a wife. So what we're talking about today are green card cases, places where the spouse has sponsored the non-citizen for a green card. So a U.S. citizen has the right to sponsor their husband or wife for a green card, and sometimes those cases can take a long time. During the pendency of the case, every now and then a dispute arises, and the question is, who does the attorney represent at that point? So, generally for an attorney to represent two people at the same time, they both have to consent to the dual representation. So if the two parties are on the same wavelength and have the same desires, it's perfectly acceptable for one attorney to represent a husband and a wife in an immigration case. So we're talking about the ethical rules related to an attorney representing both, and then what happens if a dispute arises. So in the typical example, the U.S. citizen sponsors the non-citizen for a green card, and the case can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months, depending on how busy the local office is and how complicated the case is. Sometimes a dispute arises and the U.S. citizen or the non-citizen wants the attorney to represent just them from that point forward. How does this play out? Well, we've actually had on 2 different occasions here at the office a situation where our phone rings and it's either the U.S. citizen or the non-citizen, and they want to talk to us about a fight that they've had with the other spouse. And that puts us in a very delicate situation, because as soon as a conflict arises between the two spouses, it really ties our hands, because we have to be very careful with what we disclose to the person that's calling us and to the one who didn't call us. We really don't want to do anything to jeopardize the dual representation until such time as it becomes clear that the parties have sort of irreconcilable differences and we won't be able to continue anymore. Because what has happened is the U.S. citizen has called and said, how do I do everything that I can to keep that no-good spouse of mine from getting a green card? And then shortly thereafter, we get a call from the foreign spouse asking, what can I do to keep my green card? And so whenever we have those conversations, that puts us in a really tricky situation. And if a client goes that far that they want our advice on how to thwart the objectives of the other spouse, we have to recuse ourselves and we have to get out of the case. We'll typically refer both the U.S. citizen and the non-citizen to 2 different attorneys, one each, so that their interests can be protected, because we can't favor one client over the other. We can't pick the U.S. citizen or the non-citizen or do anything, because we have a ton of information about the marital relationship, and it wouldn't be fair for us to pick and choose one spouse or the other. So if you are having conflicts with your spouse, you need to be real careful with how you phrase it with your attorney. And if, in fact, things are irreconcilable, your attorney is going to have to recuse himself and not represent either of you from that point forward. If, on the other hand, it's just a minor blip and things are able to be worked out and nobody has sort of soured the relationship with the attorney, then the attorney should be able to keep on representing both sides. So these are the kinds of things to think about if you're going through a marriage-based case. You want to make sure that your attorney represents both sides equally and fairly, and that nobody gains the upper hand by trying to get the former attorney to represent just their interests. Because when the gloves are off and the couple's fighting, the interests do become very different. The U.S. citizen typically wants to stop the process and to not sponsor the non-citizen anymore, and the non-citizen wants to do everything they can to remain in the United States and keep the green card. That's the typical situation. Keep the green card process going if they can. So if you have any questions about this, or if you have a question about dual representation in the immigration context, or what you should be thinking about when hiring an attorney, give us a call at 314-961-8200, or you can email us at jim@hackinglawpractice.com. Thanks.